And I grew up as a Muslim, and later on I got admission to read pharmacy in UI. Towards the end of my 100 levels, a classmate of mine gave me a little book to read titled The Axiioms of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The contents of the book simply summarized says the white man education is not for the black man. As soon as I finished reading that book, all my mind was messed up. And that's what 1 Corinthians 15:33 says. It said, do not be deceived. Evil communication corrupt good manners. And that's a warning to every young man. What are you reading? What are you watching? Your eyes is the gate to your spirit. Your ears is also the second gate. The information I got from that book, I thought it was useless, getting a university education. So immediately I went, picked up the phone, called my father back home. And before the man says, Jack, I said, Dad, I'm done with education. He thought I was joking. 3 days later, I was back home in Lagos. That started a wild life. But thank God for Jesus. 3 days after I got back home in the middle of the night, my dad called me up and said, son, what was that you were saying over the phone the other day? And I said, you heard me right. So he said, what do you want to do now if you don't want to go to school? I said, I would like to play music. And he said, over my dead body, none of my child will play music. And he made a statement and said, can't you see what music has done to that man they call Fela Anikulapo Kuti? And you know, young people, you know, they have their own idols. At that time, Fela was the reigning star in Nigeria. And I was wondering, who is my father to condemn Fela? And that's why you should be careful what we tell young people. At that time, I was just about a little bit above 16 years of age. And before my father said anything, I said in my mind, if you don't want to send me to music school, I will go to Fela's house. 2 days later, I dropped a note after he's gone to work, saying to my father, you're not going to see me until after 7 years. I thought it was going to be 7 years. It took 15 years before I set my eyes on my father, mother, brothers, sisters, uncle, nephews, niece. All those 15 years, I got education from the street. I was brought up by the street. A thug, a criminal, everything. But I'll call them short. The journey into music started like this. Before I went to Fela's house, I'd never played music. I don't know anything about music. But Fela had a library that contained a lot of books. Books, different kind of books. The first book I read there was titled How to Become a Witch or Wizard. Because I wasn't interested in that. I wrote so many other books, like a book that talks about the first Jesus Christ. That book talks about Jesus being a black man and lived for 150 years, that it was after his death that the white man faked the black man with this Jesus that we worship. I mean, you know that's fallacy, is blasphemy. But it's inside the book anyway. So whatever you read, if you are not careful, becomes part of you. So at the end of the day, I got hold of a book that talks about some exercise. And this exercise I saw was how to astral travel. So I decided to try it out. The night I tried it out, I left my body. My soul left my body. I was looking at myself. I don't want to go into details. I was looking at me where I was sitting on lotus position with 7 candles lighted around me that was instructed. And as I was chanting what they said we should chant in the book, my spirit left my body and I went out from the ceiling and I traveled towards the sky, passed through the skies, the clouds that the aircraft used to be, until I just entered a realm that I cannot explain. In entering that realm, I saw creatures that looked like beast animals. And one of them approached me and said, why are you here? I said, I would like to play music. And he said, follow me. We were not talking. There was no sound. We're talking by what metaphysics called telepathy. That's mind-to-mind communication. He took me to a hall where I got instructions from 3 other creatures on how to play keyboard, bass guitar, and lead guitar. And the initial beast that brought me in came, took me back and said, go back to your body. My spirit returned to my body. And I came out of the room. As I was going downstairs, I met with somebody that said, where have you been? And I said, what do you mean where I've been? I just went in there about 2 hours ago. The guy said, no, we've not seen you for 3 days. I said, what are you talking about? So I left him, went back to check the calendar. Of a truth, I've been out of my body for 72 hours. Man, I was shocked, but I could not explain it. I could not tell anybody. The following day, I walked up to Fela and said, Fela, I want to play in your band. He said, you want to play in my band? How long have you been in this house? I said, about 6-7 months. He said, get out. You think music is what? Do you know how to play music before? Have you gone to music school? I said, why don't you just test me if I fail? He said, get out. I left. The following day, I came back pushing. I said, Fela, you test me. If I pass, you employ me. If I fail, forget about it. He said, okay, what instrument would you like to play? I said, I would like to play the rhythm guitar. So he called on the road manager to bring the rhythm guitar. So I sat opposite him. And he started calling the chords. You know, I scored the chords. He told me to run the scales, guitar scales. I run the scales. And he said, okay, I'm going to catch you now. Play my latest number in Shrine. Then his latest number was titled Just Like That. I just smiled. He did not see that there was a being standing by me. A spirit was standing by my side, instructing me what to do. So I just played the song, and he asked me again, how long have you been here? Do you know how to play music? I said, that's not the point. Have I passed? He said, yeah, you've passed. He said, call me, the manager. Manager, prepare international passport for this guy. We have an American and Canadian tour from next month. He's coming with us. He's my latest guitarist. That's how I became the guitarist of Egypt 80 Bound, and I later graduated to become the keyboardist and recorded several albums with Fela. You can check that out on the net. So I became a musician, started playing. Now on our way to United States on that tour, Fela was arrested at the airport. And so he could not go with us to America. So we went without Fela, had our first show in Hollywood Main Bowl, but it was a flop because Fela was not there. So all the other shows were cancelled. We thought it was going to be an easy thing. We came back home, Fela was already in court, and before you know it, he was jailed. So we continued to play in Shrine. One Sunday jump as we were performing on the stage. You know, if you come close to me, you see holes in my ears. My ears are pierced, you know, because I started off as a dreadlock, then I ended up as a punk. As a matter of fact, I was initiated into a Buffalo punk organization in Brooklyn some years back. You know, as I was playing on stage, because on stage I was very charismatic, I was young. Then we had a break. I came down from the stage. The guy approached me and said, young man, I like the way you perform on stage. I said, thank you. And he said to me, but young boys like you in America, there's something they use to enhance their performance. I said, what is it? He said, cocaine and heroin. I said, man, I've never heard of that stuff. I'm okay with marijuana. He said to me, you are a coward. And I said, can I have it? Let me see. The guy brought out 5 grams of cocaine and 5 grams of heroin. I've never seen it before. White powder and brown powder. And I said, how do you use this? He said, let's go and check into a hotel. We checked in and he taught me all the chemistry on how to turn cocaine powder to hard rock, which we call crack, and all the things you prepare, the apparatus you use, you know, to prepare it. I can't go into that. It's just like walking inside a chemistry laboratory. You need a cooking bottle, you need a bosin burner, you need bicarbonate of soda to mix with the cocaine powder, and you need water. There's some heating, there's some cooling. And that's why it's dangerous. So I became hooked to drug. It was drug that took me to the next phase of my life, which happens to be robbery. Because by the time I was giving my life to Christ, exactly 18 years ago, May 7, 1994, between the hours of 7 p.m. and 12 midnight, if I have not done 25,000 naira worth of cocaine, I can't sleep. So in order to meet this deal, I joined a 12-man armed robbery gang. In those days, it was our gang that was terrorizing all of Codeso Street to, you know, they said some young armed robbers used to come down shooting in the air, and they have some girls with them also. That was my gang. We were 12 in number. 11 of them were from Abeokuta. I was the only outsider, but I was the last person to join. And so, as an armed robber, if anyone be in Christ, it's a new creation. All things are passed away. As an armed robber, yes, I killed a couple of guys. I shot, I killed, you know. And as an armed robber also, if you go to cell 26 in Kirikiri, you see my name inscribed on the wall there. Keji Hamilton was here. Go to the prison in Abeokuta, you still see my name there. And a couple of other prisons. But Jesus has set me free. I am not a murderer. I'm not a killer. I'm set to set somebody free here today. You know, when I share this, some religious people are not very comfortable. They are wondering, how can he just talk like that? Or how can he call himself a pastor? Sir, you did not die for me. Ma, you did not die for me. He that died for me has set me free. Not only has he set me free, he has anointed me with his Holy Ghost, gave me his word, sent me as a yoke breaker and a chain destroyer. And that's why I know today someone is going to be liberated. From robbery, I stepped on to the next level. After a couple of robberies, you know what it means to be a robber? I was being haunted. At times physical, at times spiritual. When I walk down the street, I will see the face of somebody I shot screaming at me. So I need now to fortify myself. So I was in Canada in my hotel room. And I got a call from Nigeria. I was in Toronto, Ontario, on Lakeshore Boulevard. I got a call from Nigeria, and the guy said, Keji, don't come back to Nigeria. I said, why? He said, they've arrested your gang. And they've all confessed that you are the head of the gang. So the police they are just waiting for you. As soon as you enter Nigeria, they'll pick you up. And I said, hi, guy, I cannot live in America. I can't live abroad. And the reason why I couldn't live abroad was because my life was not, if I had lived abroad by now, I would be far gone. Because even as a tourist, I was always engaged in gunfights. Several times, downtown Manhattan, Brooklyn, Broadway, Chicago, Portland, Oregon, all over, 48 states in the US, just doing crime, trafficking drugs, selling drugs, buying guns, selling guns, and also playing music alongside. It was all a mix-up. I was just a bad guy. Sold my soul to the devil. I was gone, but I didn't even know what I was doing. But in all of this, God has a plan. No matter how bad you are, God has a plan. You heard what Brother Buchi said. I've heard his testimony several times. The Reverend Father had prayed for them on the stake. They were about to shoot them. When the man that was going to order the men to shoot them asked him, take your clothes, start going. And he was saying in his mind, they are going to shoot me soon. He was walking and expecting a gunshot. That's how Buchi walked to freedom. And today he's singing this gospel song. How bad are you? Let me tell you this. God is the God of the bad boys. Did you hear that? If you are here, you say you are a good man, maybe God don't need you. Because he said, I have not come for those who are not sick. I have come for those who have problems. I had problems in my life. I was struggling with how to survive. I was thinking of how I can survive in my country that have been bastardized, the economy. And I thought the only way was to go the way I went. And there are many young people that are treading that way. You want to talk about cultism in our universities and all that? There's a reason for every problem in the society. If we don't check it out, because as I speak to you, every university campus has a drug market where they sell cocaine, heroin, including prescription drugs. Alright? And that's where our children are going to go to school. And we are cool in church, playing holiness. That's not what we are here for today. God needs somebody here today. Somebody that God is going to use to touch our generation. And that person is going to be you. Now, by the time I got back to Nigeria, the guy that called me said, we have to travel to 45. So I just checked into a hotel on Allen, and we traveled with the airport cab to Ijebu until we got to an Ijebu village called Ijebu Akaka. And we met with a Babalawo called Baba Munikoro. That was my first time to romance with charms, initiations, bathing in the river, killing pigeon over my head and all that. When that started it, before I gave my life to Christ, several. I went to Ivory Coast, I went to Ghana, I went to Cotonou. In Cotonou, when the Babalawo finished with me, he told me to enter inside the cave. That there's something there that I need to meet with. I entered the cave. Everywhere was dark. And suddenly, I just saw a huge python on the ground, rolled. And as I shouted, the Baba said, if you shout again, you are a dead man. So I kept quiet. The python unwound itself, came to me, rolled itself around me, and started licking my face. From about 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. I fainted many times. I came back many times. And that's what you see. You can go too far and never be able to return. I believe the only reason why I returned was because God has a plan for me. One of the plans He has is why I'm here today on this podium. There's somebody here that God needs to set free tonight. I went to Somorika in Auchi to do bulletproof because too much of gun war. I went to Somorika. The native doctor put a bone on top of my hand. I was making incantations. And the bone disappeared into my hands. And he called 3 hunters. They started shooting at me. The bullets were dropping on the ground. After a while, I heard another gunshot. Not from the 3 hunters in front of me. He was coming from the back. I never knew. But when that gun sounded, I was no longer where I was. I saw myself in a room. And later I heard some voices. The Babalawo came and opened the door and I came out. He said, the last one is disappearing charm. He said, go back to Lagos. My last initiation was in Onitsha, a place called Nkisi. I met a guy in Scotland when we were recording Beast of No Nation. Beast of No Nation is a song by Fela. And we're recording the video, live video recording. I know in live video recording, there must be a crowd and the musician on stage so that when they introduce the musician, the crowd will clap, just as Buchi performed now. So while we were recording, there was a guy sitting on the 4th row. At the end of the recording, he beckoned on me. I went to him and the guy said to me, I like the way you perform on stage. You are very, very charismatic. I would like to sponsor your musical career. I'm the managing director of Life Shield Mortgage Bank. At that time, there was a bank on number 11 Allen Avenue. You know, Life Shield Mortgage Bank, owned by Dr. Alex Ekweme. The headquarters was in London, called Shield Bank. This guy was the manager. I'll keep his name for today. A voice said to me, if you do not stop this, you are going to die this year. Probably that's what God is saying. This is 2012.